Okay, Myra, you'll tell me when you think it's time to stop.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm thinking in terms of page 59, where he says where Harold says, "Ah, then we really have something now
Okay.
tonight."
Perfect. Okay, got it.
At least it's a cliffhanger.
Well,
Okay. So we have Laura Lila as narrator, Myra as Stag, Muscle Spark as Snog. We have Rocky as Harold Shea, and
Myra, is that what the lines you're talking about? Is that before or after they've talked to Snog about his girlfriend?
it's after. I mean, it's lining stuff up.
So it's lining stuff up for the final.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Great.
okay, you ready?
Okay. Yes. Ready? Take one.
Hang on. Where are we starting from?
On page 54, just below the 4 little pound signs.
Okay. Go.
Wait. Just review the scene of where they are, because we want to set the scene where they are.
Okay. Harold and Hebdal have been taken captive, and they're in the prison. And they're essentially trying to occupy themselves with passing the time, and so they've. It says, "Let us play the game of questions. Few and ill are the thoughts that rise from brooding." So that's essentially where they're at, and.
Okay, thank you. It's just a good idea to give a few words.
It's true.
Okay. For hours they plied each other with queries about their respective worlds. In that ominous place, time could be measured only by meals and the periodic shrieks of "Ingvi is a louse!" About the 8th of these cries, Steg came out of his somnolent state, went out, and returned with a pile of bowls. These he set in front of the cells. Each bowl had a spoon. One was evidently expected to do one's eating through the bars. As the troll put the bowls in front of Shay's cell, he remarked loftily,
"King sees subjects eat."
The mess he put in them consisted of some kind of porridge with small lumps of fish in it, sour to the taste. Shay did not blame his fellow prisoners when they broke into loud complaints about the quality and quantity of the food. Steg paid not the slightest attention, relapsing into his chair till they had finished, when he gathered up the bowls and carried them out. The next time the door opened it was not Steg, but another troll. In the flickering torchlight, this one was, if possible, less handsome than his predecessor. His face was built around a nose of such astonishing proportions that it projected a good 18 inches, and he moved with a quick, cat-like stride. The prisoners, who had been fairly noisy while Steg was in charge, now fell silent. The new jailer stepped quickly up to Shay's cell.
"You new arrivals? I am Snog. You be good, nothing hurt you. You be bad, zip."
He made a motion with his finger to indicate the cutting of a throat, and turned his back on them, paced down the row of cells, peering suspiciously into each. Shay had never in his life slept on a stone floor, so he was surprised an indefinite time later to awaken and discover that he had done it for the first time, with the result of being stiff. He got up, stretching.
How long have I been asleep?
I do not know that. A fellow prisoner who dislikes someone called Envy ceased his shouting sometime since.
The long-nosed jailer was still pacing. Still muzzy with sleep, Shay could not remember his name, and called out,
Hey, you with the nose. How long before breath?
The troll had turned on him, shrieking.
What you call me, you stinking worm?
He ran down to the alcove, face distorted with fury, and returned with a bucket of water, which he sloshed into Shay's surprised face.
You son of unwed parents! I roast you with slow fire. I am Snog. I am master. You use right name.
Heimdall was laughing silently at the back of the cell. Shay murmured,
That's one way of getting a bath at all events. I guess our friend Snog is sensitive about his nose.
That is not evident. How many troubles the children of men would save themselves if they would have the skill of the gods for reading the thought that lies behind the lips? Half of all they suffer, I would wager.
Speaking of wages, Sleepless One, I see how we can run a race to pass the time.
This cage is somewhat less than spacious. What are you doing? It is to be trusted that you do not mean an eating race with those cockroaches.
No, I'm going to race them. Look, here's yours. You can tell by his broken feeler.
The speed is not of the breed. Still, I remain in gold top after my horse. What do you call yours, and how shall we race them?
Shay?
Sorry, I should call mine Man of War after a famous horse in our world.
He smoothed down the dust on the floor and drew a circle in it with his finger.
Now, let's release our racers in the center of the circle, and the one whose roach crosses the rim first shall win.
Go for it. What shall the wager be? A crown?
Well, seeing that neither event has any money at all, why don't we shoot the works and make it 50 crowns?
500 if you wish.
Man of War won the first race. Snug, hearing the activity in the cell, hustled over.
What you do?
Shay explained.
Oh. All right, you do. Not too noisy, though. I stop it if you do.
He stalked away, but was soon back again to watch the sport. Goldtop won the second race, Man of War the third and fourth. Shay, glancing up, suppressed an impulse to tweak the sesquipedalian nose that the troll had thrust through the bars. By and by, went out and was replaced by Steg, who did not even notice the cockroach racing. As he hoisted himself into his chair, Shay asked whether he could get them some sort of small box or basket.
Why you want?
Shay explained he wanted it to keep the cockroaches in. Steg raised his eyebrows.
I'm too big for these things.
He said loftily and refused to answer another word. So they had to let the racers go rather than hold them in their hands all day. But Shay saved a little of his breakfast, and later, by using it as bait, they captured 2 more cockroaches. This time, after a few victories for Shay, Heimdall's roach began to win consistently. By the time the man crossed the passage had yelled, "Ingvi is a louse!" 4 times, Shay had found himself Heimdall's debtor to the extent of something like 30 million crowns. It made him suspicious. He watched the golden god narrowly during the next race, then burst out,
Say, that's not fair. You're fixing my cockroach with your glittering eye and slowing him up.
What, mortal? Dare you accuse one of the Aesir?
You're damn right I dare. If you're going to use your special powers, I won't play.
A smile slowly spread across Heimdall's face.
Young Harold, you do not lack for boldness, and I have said before that you show glimmerings of wit. In truth, I have slowed up your speed. It is not meet that one of the Aesir should be beaten at aught by a mortal. But come, let that one go. And we will begin again with new mounts, for I fear that animal of yours will never again be the same.
It was not difficult to catch more roaches.
Once more I shall name mine Goldtop, after my horse. It is the name of good luck. Did you have no favorite horse?
No, but I had a car, a four-wheel chariot. It was called...
Shay began, then stopped. What was the name of that car? He tried to reproduce the syllables. Nyros, no. Nelos, no, not that either. Neurosis. Something clicked into place in his brain, a series of somethings like the fragments of a jigsaw puzzle.
Heimdall! I believe I know how we can get out of here.
That will be the best of news, if it be equal to the thought. I have looked, now, deeply into this place, and I do not see how it may be done without outside aid, nor shall we have any help from any giant we can find so near.
Whose side will the trolls be on?
It is thought that the trolls will be users. Yet strange it would be if we could beguile one of these surly ones to help us.
Nevertheless,
I'm sorry.
something you said a little while back gives me an idea. You remember something about the skill of the gods at reading the thought. It lies behind the lips. I was of a profession whose business it is to learn people's thoughts by questioning them and by studying what they think today, predict what they will think tomorrow in other circumstances, even to provoke them to thinking certain things.
It could be. It is an unusual art, mortal, and a great skill. But it could be. What then?
Well then, this stag, I don't think we can get far with him. I've seen his type before. He's something I can't remember, but he lives in a world of his own imaginings, where he's a king and we're all his slaves. I remember now, a paranoic. You can't establish contact with a mind like that.
Most justly and truly reason, Harold. From what I am able to catch of his thought, this is no more than the truth.
Yeah, but Snurg is something else. We can do something with him.
Much though I regret to say it, you do not drown me in an ocean of hope. Snug is even more hostile than his unattractive brother.
Shay grinned. At last he was in a position to make use of his specialized knowledge.
That's what one would think, but I've studied many like him. The only thing that's wrong with Snurg is that he has a feeling of inferiority, a complex we call it, about that nose of his. If somebody could convince him he's handsome...
Snug? Handsome? That is a just provoking thing.
Shh, please, Lord Heimdall. As I say, the thing he wants most is probably good looks. If we could pretend to work some sort of spell on his nose, tell him it has shrunk, and get the other prisoners to corroborate.
Man of wit. It is now to be seen that you have been associating with Uncle Fox. Yet do not sell your bearskin until you have caught the animal. If you can get Snug sufficiently friendly to propose your plan, then it will be seen whether confinement has really sharpened your wit or only addled them. But youngling, what is to prevent Snug feeling his nose and discovering the beguilement for himself?
Oh, we don't have a guarantee to take it all off. He'd be grateful enough for a couple of inches.
When Snurg came on duty that nightfall, he found the dungeon as usual, except that Shay and Heimdall's cell was noisy with shouts of encouragement to their entries in the great cockroach derby. He went over to the cell to make sure that nothing outside the rules of the prison was going on. Shay met his suspicious glower with a grin.
Hi there, friend Snurg. Yesterday I owed Heimdall 30 million crowns, but today my luck has turned and it's down to 23 million.
What do you mean?
Shay explained and went on.
Why don't you get in the game? We'll catch a roach for you. It must be pretty dull with nothing to do all night but listen to the prisoner's snore.
Said Snog, then turned abruptly, suspicious again.
You make trick to let other prisoner escape.
He motioned across his throat again.
Lord Cert, he say.
No, nothing like that. You can make your inspection any time. Shh, there's one now.
When what?
Asked Snog, a little of the hostility leaving his voice. Shay was creeping toward the wall of his cell. He pounced like a cat and came up with another cockroach in his hand.
What'll his name be?
Snog thought, his little troll brain trying to grasp the paradox of a friendly prisoner, his eyes moving suspiciously.
I call him Fjord, after river that run fast.
Is that where you're from?
Aye.
It is said, Mr. that Björn has the finest fish in all the 9 worlds. I believe it, for I have seen it.
The troll looked almost pleased.
True word. Me fish there early morning. Ho ho, me wade. Snap, up come trout. Bite him. Floppin' face. Me remember big one. Chase into shallow.
You and Oko Thor ought to get together. Björn may have the best fish, but he has the biggest fish story in the 9 worlds.
Snurg actually emitted a snicker.
Me know that story. Thor no fisher. He use hook and line. Only trolls know how to fish fair. We use hands. Like this.
He bent over the floor, his face fixed in intense concentration, then made a sudden sweeping motion, quick as a rattlesnake's lunge.
Ah, fish, I like him. Come, we race.
The 3 cockroaches were tossed into the center of the circle and scuttled away. Snurg's Fjorm was the first across the line to the troll's unconcealed delight. They ran race after race, with halts when one of the roaches escaped and another had to be caught. Snurg's entries showed a tendency to win altogether at variance with the laws of probability. The troll did not notice, and would hardly have grasped the fact that Heimdall was using his piercing glance at his own and Shay's roaches and slowing them up, though Snurg was not allowed to win often enough to rouse his sleeping suspicions. By the time Steg relieved him in the morning, he was over 20 million crowns ahead. Shay stretched out on the floor to sleep with the consciousness of a job well done. When he awoke, just before Snurg came on duty the next night, he found Heimdall impatient and uneasy, complaining of the delay, while Surt's messenger was riding to demand the sword heed as ransom. Yet it speedily became obvious that the Snurg's campaign could not be hurried.
Don't you ever get homesick for your River Fjorm?
I often like 'em fish.
Think you'll be going back?
Will not be soon.
Why not?
Snurg squirmed a little.
Lord Cert, him hard master.
Oh, he'd let you go. Is that the only reason?
No. Me like troll girl. Elva Gable. Harrow. Here, what I do. Talk privacy life with prisoner? Stop it. We race.
Shay recognized that this was as good a place to stop his questioning, but when Snurg was relieved, he remarked to Heimdall,
That's a rich bit of luck. I can't imagine being in love with a female troll, but he evidently is.
And from another world, you observe well. His thoughts were near enough his lips for me to read. His troll-wife, Elva Gable, has refused him because of the size of his nose.
Ah, then we really have something. Now tonight...
"That's where you'd have us end, Myra?"
Yes, but, it's up to what people wish to do.
I think we can go much further. I think we can go.
Why don't we go up to
Yeah.
61?
Yeah, I was thinking
Okay.
we should go to. Yeah, we haven't even really gotten into the plan. Not very far.
So 61 starts a new section. We could do or further if you like.
We'll see how the time goes.
Okay. When the cockroach races began that night, Heimdall reversed the usual process sufficiently to allow Snurg to lose several races in succession. The long winning streak he later developed was accordingly appreciated, and it was while Snurg was chuckling over his victories, snapping his finger joints and bouncing in delight, that Shay insinuated softly,
Friend Snug, you've been good to us. Now, if there's something we could do for you, we'd be glad to do it. For instance, we might be able to remove the obstacle that prevents your return to Alvagevo.
Snurg jumped and glared suspiciously.
Not possible.
Heimdall looked at the ceiling.
Great wonders have been accomplished by prisoners, and there is held out to them the hope of release.
Lord Cert, him very bad man when angry.
Snarg countered, eyes moving restlessly.
Aye. Yet not Lord Sir's arm is long enough to reach into the troll country after one who has gone there to save his own whole life.
Snurg cocked his head on one side so that he looked something. He looked like some large beaked bird.
Hard part is to get beyond Lord Cert's arm. Too much danger.
But if one's face were altogether changed by removal of a feature, it might be much easier and simpler. One would not be recognized.
Snurg caressed his enormous nose.
Too big. You make fun of me.
Not at all. Back in my own country, a girl once turned me down because my eyes were too close together. Women always have peculiar taste.
That true. You fix nose. I be your man. I do all for you.
Well, I don't want to guarantee too much in advance, but I think I can do something for you. I landed here without all my magical apparatus, though.
All you need, I get.
Snurg was eager to go the whole way now that he had committed himself.
I'll have to think about what I need.
The next day, when Steg had collected the breakfast bowls, Shay and Heimdall lifted their voices and asked the other prisoners whether they would cooperate in the proposed method of escape. They answered readily enough.
Sure, if it won't get us into no trouble. I
Shay turned his thoughts. Envy is a louse. Shay turned his thoughts to the concoction of a spell that would sound sufficiently convincing, doing his best to recall Chalmers' description of the law of magic, to which he had given so little attention when the psychologists stated them. There was the law of contagion. No, there seemed no application for that. But the law of similarity? That would be it. The troll, himself familiar with spells and wizardry, would recognize an effort to apply that principle as in accordance with the general laws of magic. It remained then to surround some application of the law of similarity with sufficient hocus-pocus to make Snurg believe something extra special in the way of spells was going on. Neither exclamation over the diminished size of Snurg's nose, the other prisoners would do the rest.
Whom should one invoke in working a spell of this kind?
Knowledge of the sitting mortal. The evil companion would be able to give you all manner of spells and blue gods. But I would say that the names of the ancestors of wizardry would be not without power in such cases.
Yeah, and who are they?
There is the ancestor of all witches, by name Withold. The ancestor of all warlocks, who was called Luhan. Barkhead was the first of the spell singers, and of the giant kindred, Ymir. For good luck, in the ground of Snug, you might add two who yet live. Anfari, king of the dwarves, and the ruler of all trolls, who is the old woman of Ironwood. She is a fearsome creature, but I think it's not intolerable subject.
When Snurg showed up again, Shay had worked out his method for the phony spell.
I'll need a piece of beeswax and a charcoal brazier already lit and burning. A piece of driftwood sawn into pieces, no bigger than your thumb, and a pound of green grass. Oh, and a stand on which you can balance a board just over the brazier.
Time comes very near. Giants muster when you want things.
Shay heard in the background Heimdall's gasp of dismay at the first sentence.
As soon
But he said,
as you can possibly get them.
Maybe tomorrow night we race?
No. Yes.
his lean, sharp face looked strained in the dim light. Shay could guess the impatience that was gnawing him, but his exalted sense of personal duty and responsibility, and perhaps with reason, Shay assured himself, the fate of the world, of gods and men, in Heimdall's own words, hung on that trumpet blast. Shay's own fate, too, hung on it, an idea he could never contemplate without a sense of shock and unreality, no matter how frequently he repeated the process of reasoning it all out. Yet, not even the shock of this repeated thought could stir him from the fatalism into which he had fallen. The world he had come from, uninteresting though it was, had at least been something one could grasp, think over as a whole. Here he felt himself a chip on a tossing ocean of strange and terrible events. His early failures on the trip to Jotunheim had left him with a sense of helplessness which had not entirely disappeared, even with his success in detecting the illusions in the giants' games and the discovery of Thor's hammer. Loki then, and Heimdall later, had praised his fearlessness. "Ah," he said to himself, "if they only knew, It was not true courage that animated him, but a feeling that he was involved in a kind of strange and desperate game in which the only thing that mattered was to play it as skillfully as possible. He supposed soldiers had something of that feeling in battle. Otherwise they would all run away, and there wouldn't be any battle. His thoughts strayed again to the episode in the hall of Utgard. Was it Loki's spell or the teardrop in his eye that accounted for his success there, or merely the trained observation of a modern mind? Some of the last, certainly, and others had been too excited to note such discordant tales as the fact that Hugi cast no shadow. At the same time, his modern mind balked over the idea that the spell had been effective. Yet there was something, a residue of phenomenon, not accounted for by physical fact. That meant, given the proper spell to work, he could perform as good a bit of magic as the next man. Heimdall, Snurg, and Surt all had special powers, built in during construction, as it were. But their methods would do him, Shay, no good at all. He was neither god, troll, thank heaven, nor giant. Well, if he couldn't be a genuine warlock, he could at least put on a good show. And affectations he had put on during his former life. Now, life itself depended on how well he could assume a pose. A wizard act. His normal behavior should seem odd enough to Snurg for all practical purposes. The inevitable night dragged out, and Steg arrived to take over his duties. Snurg hurried out. Shay managed to choke down what was sardonically described as his breakfast, and tried to sleep. The first yell of "Ingvi the louse" brought him up to all standing, and his flea bite seemed to itch more than usual. He'd just gotten himself composed when it was time for dinner again. And Snurg. The troll listened, twitching with impatience till Steg's footfall died away. Then he scurried out like a magnified rat and returned with his arms full of the articles Shay had ordered. He dumped them in the middle of the passage with a few words, opened the door of Shay and Heimdall's cell.
Put out all but one of the torches.
While Snurg was doing this, the amateur magician went to work. Holding the beeswax over the brazier, he softened it enough to work and pressed it into a conical shape, making 2 deep indentations on one side, till it was a crude imitation of Snurg's proboscis.
Now, get the water bucket.
He whispered to them.
When I tell you, pour it into the brazier.
Shay knelt before the brazier and blew into it. The coals brightened. He picked up a fistful of driftwood and began feeding them into the glowing charcoal. Hot, little varicolored flames dancing across them. Shay, on his haunches and swaying to and fro, began his spell.
Witolf and Wilhelm, stand, my friends, and Vari Ymir, help me to my ends. The hag of the ironwood shall be my aid. By the spirit of Svarthead, let this spell be made.
The beeswax on board above the brazier was softening. Slowly the cone lost its shape and slumped. Transparent drops trickled over the edge of the board, hung redly in the glow, and dropped with a hiss and a spurt of yellow flame into the brazier. Shay chanted,
Let wizards and warlocks combine and conspire to make Snurg's nose melt. Light the wax on this fire.
The beeswax had become a mere fist-shaped lump. The trickle into the brazier was continuous. Little flames rose yellowly and were reflected from the eyes of the breathlessly watching prisoners. Stuffed handfuls of grass into the brazier. Thick rolls of smoke filled the dungeon. He moved his arms through the murk, wriggling the fingers and shouting,
Hag of the ironwood, I invoke you in the name of your subject.
The waxen lump was tiny now. Shay leaned forward into the smoky half-light, his eyes smarting, and rapidly molded it into something resembling the shape of an ordinary nose.
Pour now.
Swoosh! went the water into the brazier, and everything was blotted from vision by a cloud of vapor. He struggled away into an erect position. Sweat was making little furrows in the dirt along his skin with the sensation of insects crawling.
All right. You can put the light back on now.
The next few minutes would tell whether his deception was going to work. The other prisoners did not fail him. Snurg was going along the passage, lighting the extinguished torches from the one that remained. As the light increased, he turned to place one in its bracket on the opposite side of the wall. Shade joined involuntarily in the cry of astonishment that rose from every prisoner in the cells. Snurg's nose was no bigger than that of a normal human being. Harold Shea was a warlock.
Head feel funny.
Remarked Snog in a matter-of-fact tone.
Good place to stop.
Yes.
Yes.
And we could do a little quick scene from Did you see Vidal's comments? We're all laughing.
Very good.
Well, I was the ventriloquist dummy, so.
Ah. Well, but now we're gonna get Vidal up here to pull his I Ching so that we can have a scene or two of Norton Street.
So I got a 9-sided die to roll because Bill wanted to join, and that made 9, and I couldn't do the 3 coin thing when we had 9 people. So I got this die, but it actually has 10 sides to it, and then I realized I don't even have it now because I'm still at work. So I figured I'd just ask if there are any volunteers. Do we have 2 volunteers today? One of whom could be Bill.
I'll need to find it.
Maybe someone who hasn't done a part yet.
Lost is sitting up here. Do you want to do it, Lost?
I vote for Laura because Lost his sound is really bad today.
Oh, that's perfect.
Unless he fixes his
And Laura
sound.
hasn't done it tonight.
And Laura hasn't done anything, so
Excellent.
she's elected.
Oh my
Right.
gosh. I
Done.
don't know if
Yeah.
I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ready for this. Let me see if I have the script.
That's the
Hold on,
perfect,
please.
perfect condition.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I'm
What
thinking.
page did we leave off on? Do you remember?
39.
39.
39.
Oh, sorry.
Well, it